At my graduation dinner, Grandma smiled and said she was glad the $1,500 she sent every month had helped me. But when I said I never got $1, my parents stopped breathing. The risotto was getting cold on my plate when my grandmother, Isolde, leaned across the white tablecloth and said the 7 words that unraveled everything. "I'm so glad the money is helping, Verity." I set my fork down, not dramatically, just slowly, like my hand had forgotten what it was supposed to be doing. "I'm sorry. What money, Gran?" She blinked. Her pearl earrings caught the candlelight. "The $1,500, sweetheart, every month for 4 years." She said it the way you'd say the sky is blue, not a secret, just a fact. "I set it up the week before you started at Callaway University. Your mother said the billing department needed a parental account for the disbursements." The restaurant noise kept going. Someone laughed 2 tables over. A waiter dropped a fork. The world was completely indifferent to the fact that my ribs had just caved inward. I turned to look at my parents. My father, Crispin Voss, had a mouth full of wine he would not swallow. He just sat there, cheeks slightly puffed, staring at the centerpiece like it owed him something. My mother, Wren, had gone the color of old wax. Her smile, that perfectly architected smile she'd spent 46 years perfecting, was still on her face, but it had gone structurally unsound. It was the smile of a building that's been hit but hasn't fallen yet. My brother Stellan's fork hung in midair. "I never got it," I said. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. "Gran, I never received any money." Isolde Voss set her champagne glass down, and the expression that crossed her face, that slow, dawning, devastating comprehension, was the last thing my parents' carefully constructed world ever survived. "My name is Verity Voss. I am 23 years old, and I spent 4 years at Callaway University believing that poverty was my inheritance. I need you to understand what I mean by that. Not tight budget poverty, not can't eat out this week poverty. The kind where you do the math on a bag of oranges for 10 minutes and put them back. The kind where you wear the same winter coat for 3 years because the zipper still works, mostly. The kind where missing one diner shift doesn't mean less fun money. It means choosing between the electric bill and your biology textbook. I thought that was just who I was, the scrappy one, the one who built character the hard way. My parents had told me so over and over with the patient conviction of people who genuinely believed it. Crispin Voss ran a mid-sized consulting firm out of our hometown of Briarfield, a clean, affluent suburb of somewhere that always looked like a real estate brochure. He was the kind of man who wore his watch the way other men wear a personality. Every piece of furniture in our house had a story about how he'd earned it. Every vacation photo was a testament to his work ethic. The subtext was always the same. "I built this, and you should be building yours." Wren Voss was softer about it. She had a phrase she used when I called home from my dorm, voice wobbly, too tired to pretend. "Difficulty is the tuition for strength, Verity." She delivered it with such warmth, such practiced maternal sincerity, that I wrote it in my journal once. I actually wrote it down like it was wisdom. Stellan, my older brother by 2 years, occupied a different universe entirely. He had the apartment with the exposed brick and the gym membership and the ski trip to Vail every January. He didn't ask where it came from. It arrived the way air does, constantly, without ceremony. I didn't resent him for it, not exactly. I just lived with this low-grade background hum of confusion. How were they funding his life while lecturing me about self-reliance? My mother had a line for that too. "Your brother has different needs, honey. You're stronger than you think you are." I believed her. That's the part I still have the hardest time forgiving myself for. Callaway University was 2 states away, which felt like freedom the day I arrived and like exile by October. My first week, I slept on a bare mattress because I couldn't afford a mattress pad and had miscalculated my first month's budget down to a matter of $19. I got a job shelving returns at the campus library 3 days after orientation, not because it was convenient, but because I did the math on ramen and realized I couldn't make September work otherwise. The library was in the basement of Whitmore Hall, a cold, fluorescent-lit maze of metal shelving and recycled air. I worked 8-hour shifts on weekends, running carts of books through the stacks, alphabetizing, cataloging, disappearing. My coworker was a 40-year-old man named Deft, who was working 2 jobs to support his kids, and had the resigned, enduring quality of someone who had long since stopped expecting anything from the universe. I liked Deft. He never told me difficulty was the tuition for strength. By spring semester, I had added a second job, a place called Parsons Diner on Route 9, open 24 hours, eternally smelling of burnt coffee and industrial cleaning product. I worked the late shift, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m., 3 nights a week. The regulars knew my name. The other servers were kind in the practical, no-nonsense way of people who are surviving the same thing you are. I'd walk back to my apartment after those shifts in the dark, shoes loud on the pavement, a crumpled collection of 1s and 5s in my apron pocket, and I would feel a specific kind of tired that sleep never fully fixed. It lived behind my eyes. It sat in my shoulders. It was the tiredness of someone running a race they can't see the end of. But I was building character, right? I had a moment in my sophomore year, February, midterms week, when I got sick. Not call-in sick, the full fever and chills kind, where the world goes soft at the edges and your teeth knock together. I had a 102-degree temperature and a shift at Parsons I couldn't afford to miss. I called my mother first. I told myself I just wanted to hear her voice. "Oh, Verity, you poor thing," she said, over the sound of a blow dryer. "You need rest and fluids. Listen, I can't talk long. Dad is taking me to Rosetta's for my birthday. You know that place place by the water? He made a reservation months ago. So romantic. I told her I hoped she had a wonderful time. Then I put on my uniform and worked 8 hours with a fever. I found out later, much later, when I had a bank statement in my hands and was sitting in my grandmother's kitchen at 6 a.m. with tea I couldn't taste, that the month of that birthday dinner my parents had received $1,500 deposited into their account on the first of the month from Isolde Voss's savings. It covered their anniversary reservation with room to spare. My hands shook so hard reading that statement that the paper made a sound. The night of the graduation dinner, I still didn't know any of it. I was sitting in Marchetti's, which was the kind of restaurant where the bread costs $8 and comes on a wooden board, feeling something genuinely close to joy. I had finished. I had my degree. 4 years of the library and the diner and the secondhand coat and the put-back oranges, and I had a diploma in my bag and nobody could take it away. Crispin was in the middle of a toast. He was good at toasts. Full-bodied voice, a pause in all the right places, enough sentimentality to feel earned without going soft. He spoke about tenacity and grit and how proud they were to have raised a daughter who faced adversity without flinching. People nodded. My Aunt Cormorant dabbed her eye. I thought, he means it. I thought, maybe this is the moment everything resets. And then Isolde leaned forward across the tablecloth. My grandmother was 71, slight, with silver hair she pinned back severely and eyes the color of deep water. She had an old-world precision about her. She said exactly what she meant, no more, no less. She wasn't the performative grandmother. She was the real kind. I'm so glad the money is helping, Verity. 7 words. The silence at that table was not like regular silence. It had texture. It was the kind that presses against your eardrums. Crispin's toast glass never made it back to his lips. He lowered it by degrees, like a man disarming himself in slow motion. Wren's smile, that perfect, load-bearing smile, stayed on her face through approximately 3 full seconds of willpower before it surrendered. What replaced it was something I had never seen on my mother's face in 23 years of looking at it, raw, unadorned panic. Gran, I said carefully, I'm not sure what you mean. She explained it patiently. The account, the automatic transfer, the first of every month, 48 times. She had set it up because Wren had called her, before my freshman year started, with a very reasonable-sounding story about Callaway's financial aid disbursement system. Direct deposit to a parental account. Easier for everyone. Isolde had said, of course, whatever is simplest for Verity. She said it with such uncomplicated love. She had been writing those checks, pulling from her savings month after month, because she wanted me to have a soft landing. She wanted to make sure I never had to choose between the oranges and the bus fare. She had no idea. I looked at my parents. My father was doing something I had never seen him do before. Nothing. Crispin Voss was a man of relentless action and ready explanation. He always had a response. He always had the room. He had nothing. My mother opened her mouth. Mama, I think you might be misremembering my memory is fine, Wren. Isolde's voice had shed its warmth the way a tree sheds leaves. What was underneath was old and hard and absolutely certain. $1,500, first of every month, 48 months. I have the statements. The statements. Those 2 words landed like a gavel. Verity, my father said finally, his voice dropping into the register he used when he wanted obedience. This is not the time or place for— I never got it. I said it the same way Isolde had. Not an accusation, a fact. Flat and irrevocable as geology. My brother Stellan, who had been sitting very still with his fork frozen halfway between his plate and his face, slowly set the fork down. He looked at our parents, and I watched him understand. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the guest room bed in my parents' house, their house, which I now understood differently, and I did not cry. I thought I might. I lay there waiting for it, and it didn't come. What came instead was clarity. A cold, almost clinical clarity, like a room at 3 a.m. when you've turned all the lights on. I thought about the textbook, Renaissance Art History, Professor Dagmar Svek, who had no patience for unpreparedness and made it known. The course required a specific oversized glossy reference that cost $218. I had tried the library copy, but 30 students had the same idea and it was never available. I fell behind. My essays suffered. I got a C, the only one on my transcript, and I had accepted it as evidence of my own failure, my own poor planning, my own inadequate resourcefulness. I thought about my laptop, junior year, a refurbished Lenovo I'd bought secondhand with 4 months of diner tips. It died mid-sentence on a final paper due in 48 hours. I called my father crying, which was rare enough that it should have meant something. He sighed with the careful weight of a man delivering a lesson. This is exactly what I mean about planning, Verity. You cannot expect us to bail you out. I spent 2 days in the campus computer lab, rewriting a 10-page paper from memory on a public terminal, going home only to shower. I got it done. I thought I was proud of myself. Now I understood. I hadn't overcome an obstacle. I had been placed inside one, deliberately, by the people who were supposed to keep me out of obstacles. They weren't teaching me resilience. They were spending my money on Rosetta's by the water and weekend trips to Fenmore Valley and my brother's car down payment and front row concert tickets, and an espresso machine I could see right now from where I was lying, sitting on their kitchen counter, gleaming. $72,000. 48 months of $1,500. I kept saying the number to myself until it stopped sounding like a number and started sounding like a verdict. I left before 6 in the morning. I wrote a note, needed air, back later, and I got in my '09 Civic and drove 40 minutes to my grandmother's house house in Delwood. She opened the door before I knocked. She had been awake. She made tea the way she always made tea, with a specific old country precision that I'd always found calming. Earl Grey, loose leaf, hot warmed first. We sat at her kitchen table and I told her everything. Not emotionally, like a deposition. I told her about the diner and the library and the fever and the textbook and the laptop and the oranges. I told her about every phone call where my parents had mentioned a vacation or a new purchase, while I was calculating whether I could afford to take the bus. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she stared into her tea for a long time. A single tear moved down her cheek and landed on the saucer without a sound. "I thought I was helping you," she said. Her voice had collapsed somewhere inside itself. "I thought you had everything you needed." "I know. What do you want me to do?" She looked up and her eyes had gone from grief to something else entirely, something cold and decided. "I'll call them right now. I'll cut them off this morning. I'll call David Fenwick and have the will redrawn before lunch. Just tell me no." I reached across the table. Her hand was trembling. I held it. "That's what they'll expect. If you move now, they'll say you've lost your judgment. They'll call it emotional. They'll make you the story." She stared at me. "We need to let them think they survived it," I said. "We need to let them get comfortable." And then I pulled a folded napkin from my pocket. On it, I had written an account number and routing code. I'd opened the account at 4 a.m. on my phone, sitting in the dark guest room in their house. Online only. My name only. Invisible. "I need you to redirect the transfers, not stop them. Redirect them." Isolde Voss looked at the napkin for a long moment, then she smiled. It was a slow, cold, unfamiliar smile. Not her usual warmth. Something older. Something that had waited a very long time to be useful. "I'll call the bank when it opens," she said. Step 1, the pipeline rerouted. Step 2, the evidence. My parents left 3 weeks later for the Harwick Wine Festival, a weekend trip I would later confirm had been paid for with that month's redirected funds, the first deposit that went to me instead of them. They asked me to house sit, water the plants. Of course, I said, no problem at all. I sat in my father's leather office chair, the same chair from which he had lectured me over speakerphone about responsibility and planning and the importance of not expecting handouts, and I opened his computer. He had asked me years ago to set up his password manager. I had. He'd never changed anything. The banking portal loaded in seconds. What I found was not a surprise. It was just the confirmation of a shape I'd already intuited, but confirmation has its own specific weight. It presses down on your chest in a way that pure suspicion never does. 48 months of deposits. Every single one, $1,500 on the first. 48 months of expenditures. Coach, $440. The Harwick Inn, $612. Fenmore Valley Spa, $890. Vantage Golf. Premium membership renewal, $2,200. Transfer to Stellan Voss. App deposit, $3,000. Transfer to Stellan Voss. Vehicle, $4,500. The Rosetta's reservation. Concert tickets, front row, $380. The espresso machine, $329. Ordered the same week I had called crying about my laptop. I downloaded every statement the system would give me. 36 months, the limit. I saved them to a thumb drive I'd brought in my jacket pocket. Then I opened the credit card portal. Then I opened a spreadsheet. I worked for 4 hours. Methodical, quiet, with the particular focus of someone who has nothing left to lose, and therefore nothing left to be afraid of. I built a summary table. I categorized every transaction. When I was done, I printed everything at their printer, the good one, the laser one Crispin had bought because image matters in business, and I hole punched it and put it in a black binder I'd bought at the drugstore on the way over. I used 4 colors of highlighter. Green, deposits from Isolde Voss, $54,000 in 3 years. Pink, luxury expenditures, spa, travel, restaurant, clothing, concert, golf. Blue, transfers to Stellan. Yellow, household expenses, mortgage, utilities, car payments paid for in months where the green deposits had arrived. A fifth of the way through, I started making a second copy. By the end, I had 3. One for me, one for Isolde, one for the party. They threw me a graduation party 3 weeks later. Private room at the Aldercroft Country Club. Catered, open bar, 30 guests, my father's work colleagues, my mother's book club, my Aunt Cormorant and my Uncle Prewitt, and a collection of family friends who had heard, for years, about their extraordinary, self-sufficient daughter. Crispin worked the room like a man accepting an award. He talked about my grit, my tenacity, my independence. He said, "We raised her to stand on her own 2 feet, and by God, she does." I moved through the party smiling. My bag felt heavy with the binder inside it. Stellan found me at the buffet. His face had been doing something complicated ever since the dinner. A slow, uncomfortable reckoning happening somewhere behind his eyes that I recognized because I had watched it happen in myself once, a long time ago. "Hey," he said. "Hey, I just want you to know." He stopped. Started again. I didn't know where it came from. The car, the deposit. I just thought, he pressed his mouth together. "I just thought they were generous." "I know," I said. "You believed what they told you." He nodded. It was a heavy nod. I thought it might have cost him something. An hour in, my father tapped his glass and gave a speech. Ren cried on cue. People applauded. And then Isolde, who had been sitting quietly at the main table with the stillness of someone waiting for precisely this moment, raised her glass. "I'd like to add something," she said. Her voice was soft. It carried anyway. "I am so proud of you, Verity. I know how difficult these 4 years have been. That's why I was so pleased to help. I'm glad the $1,500 I sent every month made a difference." The ripple moved through the room, confused looks, a murmur. My parents froze. I saw my mother open her mouth. I didn't didn't let her. I never got it, Gran. The room went silent. My Aunt Cormorant turned to look at me. What? Ruby. Verity. My father stepped forward. His face was the color of bad weather. This is not... I reached into my bag and placed the binder on the table. It made a soft, definitive sound, the sound of a door closing. I think, I said, we should look at this together, since we're all here. I opened to the summary page and turned the binder to face the room. 3 years of bank statements. Every green highlight is a deposit from Isolde Vos. $54,000 in 3 years, meant for my education and living expenses. I turned the page. Every pink highlight is what it actually paid for. The spa weekends, the golf membership, the trips, the dinners. I turned again. The blue highlights are transfers to Stellan, his car, his apartment deposit, paid for with money his grandmother thought was keeping me fed. I looked at my brother. He was staring at the blue highlighted pages with an expression like a man who's just been told what's in a meal he already ate. And the yellow highlights, I said, turning to the last section, are the months this money paid their mortgage, while I worked 2 jobs, while I wore the same coat for 3 winters, while I rewrote a 10-page paper from memory because they told me they couldn't bail me out. The silence in the room was profound. My father said, "How dare?" Isolde's voice cut across his like a blade. She didn't raise it. She didn't have to. You told me it was simpler through a parental account, Ren. She was looking at my mother with an expression I had no word for, something beyond disappointment, something that had loved the person it was looking at for 46 years and was now seeing them clearly for the first time. You told me the university required it. I trusted you. I trusted you with my granddaughter. My mother broke, not slowly, all at once, like a structure with one load-bearing wall suddenly gone. She was crying before she finished her first word. Something about rough hatches, and we were going to pay it back, and please, Mama, please. Isolde did not move toward her. Temporary theft, she said very quietly, is still theft. She took out her phone. My father said, "Ellie, don't." She dialed. Put it on speaker. The voice that answered was measured and professional. "Ms. Voss? Everything all right?" "Everything is fine, David." Her voice was perfectly calm. "Damien Fenwick, estate attorney, 22 years of practice. I need you to do several things first thing in the morning. Close the joint account I hold with my daughter. Begin liquidating every financial instrument I've co-signed for Mark and Ren Voss, and redraw my will, removing them as beneficiaries. Entirely." A collective intake of breath moved through the room like a tide. "Consider it done, Ms. Voss. I'll have the paperwork ready." She hung up. She looked at my parents one last time. She didn't say anything else. She didn't have to. I left without looking back. Not dramatically, not with a speech. I picked up my bag, caught my grandmother's eye, and walked out through the country club lobby into the cool night air. I stood on the gravel drive for a moment and breathed. It tasted like something I'd been holding for 4 years. In the weeks that followed, I got the news in pieces. Damien Fenwick moved quickly. The accounts were frozen, the co-signed lines severed. My father's consulting business, it turned out, had been propped up for years by Isolde's quiet financial support, a fact he had never disclosed to my mother, or to himself. Without the infrastructure, it contracted fast. The country club membership lapsed. The second car was sold. The house, that house with the perfectly edged lawn and the patio furniture and the espresso machine, went on the market 4 months after the party. I drove past it once. There was a red and white for sale sign hammered into the grass. I sat with the engine running and I looked at it for a while. Then I put the car in drive. My mother's social media went quiet. The carefully curated feed of brunches and charity galas and my amazing family posts simply stopped. Her friends, the ones who had witnessed the party, found reasons to be busy. My Aunt Cormorant told me in a hushed call that she couldn't look at Ren without seeing the binder. Stellan got a roommate. 2, actually. He called me from his new apartment. Smaller, louder, in a neighborhood with a longer commute, and his voice had a different quality to it. Less easy, more real. "I keep thinking about the ski trips," he said. "Don't," I told him. "You didn't know." "I should have asked." "Yes," I said, "but you didn't, and you know now." There was a long pause. Then, "I'm sorry, Verity. I'm really, really sorry." I believed him. Isolde and her attorney established a trust in my name, a restitution of every transferred amount, plus 4 years of compounded interest. I met with Damien Fenwick in his wood-paneled office on a Tuesday morning and signed the paperwork. He was a careful, precise man. With reading glasses he kept taking on and off, and he looked at me over them when we finished and said, "Your grandmother is very proud of you." I used part of it to put a down payment on a condo in the Vellum district, 2 blocks from a park and a used bookshop. I furnished it slowly with things I chose, secondhand mostly. A lamp I found at an estate sale. Bookshelves I assembled myself. I bought oranges without doing math. That first time, I stood in the produce aisle and picked up a bag and put it in my cart in under 4 seconds and stood there for a moment, my hand still on the cart, and felt something move through me that took me a moment to identify. It was just ease. Simple, unremarkable ease. I had never felt it in a grocery store before. One afternoon, about a year out, I took a photo of my living room. Afternoon light through the west window, landing across a stack of books on the coffee table. My favorite mug, chipped handle, keeps things warm. Sitting beside them, a piece of art on the wall I'd bought from a local market because I liked it, for no other reason. I sent it to Isolde with a text. Finally feeling settled. "Thank you for everything." My phone rang 30 seconds later. "Oh, Verity," she said. Her voice was light, lighter than I'd heard it in years. "It looks like you." We talked for a while. Her garden. A new book she was reading. Something about Byzantine history, which was very Isolde. My job. The bookshop down the street. Before we hung up, up, she paused. And then, with a warmth that was different from before, not the warmth of a secret she thought we shared, but the warmth of a truth we actually did, she said, "I'm so glad the money is helping, dear." And this time I laughed, a real one, unguarded, unself-conscious, the kind that comes from a place where nothing is hiding. And on the other end of the line, I heard her laughing too, because this time, it was true.